Hey guys, welcome back to another video. I'm going to try and do a voiceover for this one. I haven't done that in a long time. This is my first game back on 30s and max field of view. I had been playing on 85 field of view and 22 look, but 30 target. I really like it. It makes the game feel a little bit more like Gears of War instead of, up A5. But after playing it so much mouse and keyboard, I just turned my stuff way back up. It's just the way this game wants to be played, I guess. Can only hope that E-Day really doesn't take a lot from this game, at least in my opinion. I don't like constantly reloading for pre-active. Like, pre-actives were an issue back in Gears 3, every Gears, honestly. And instead of trying to fix the issue, they just said, you know what, let's just turn it into something you can always do. At least before, you had to use something to gain something. Now it's just constant. And that's why you can't even have actives on your primaries, because you would just always be active. And then weapons like the bow and boom. The boom, you almost have to have that thing active for it to be useful in this game, it feels like. And then bow. God, they turned that thing into just a monster. All because their tournaments were online. Made the bow hit scan after you charged it for a certain amount of time. You can hold it for like 10 years active. Pretty much gives you an instant stick. But enough of that. I just want to see Gears truly return to form. I mean, Gears 5 is not a Gears of War game. This is definitely its own little thing. I would like to see being able to play for damage without your entire team behind you come back. Like, actually be able to, damage someone out instead of shooting them 3 times and they just kind of hold A at you and chunk you. That's really what every 1v in this game comes down to. It's just like, it's a dance of chunk range. Damage doesn't really play a part. Like, if you're putting in damage and you're putting yourself at risk, because unless they really fuck up. But if you try and take a couple shots, if the second shot's not downing them, then you're about to have a bad time. So they're about to sprint right at you. When it comes to movement, honestly, I wouldn't mind if they completely took out wall cancel, to be real. I'm real tired of just the constant canceling and dance into chunk range. Which, again, that's something that could be fixed with maybe a little bit more damage on guns, or maybe even the Nasher just shooting slightly faster. But I wouldn't mind wall cancel going away, but I think that's highly unlikely. So, if we're going to leave all the bouncing in, which is totally fine. It's very iconic to Gears, but they've got to make it harder. They turn a handicap up to like 1,005. I really don't think you should be able to bounce backwards, like bounce the stuff behind you to your, like maybe to your side a little bit, but not to the extent you can in this game. And then people that turn on single stick get that like little extra help when it comes to grabbing the walls to your side or behind you at an angle, stuff like that. I would just, I want to see that stuff toned down a little bit. Wall bouncing is totally fine, but it's overdone in this game. Everyone's the best at it. It's something they've got to, in my opinion, get away from just a little bit. I will say one thing I think they did pretty well with 5 is the Lancer. I actually really like how it works in this game. The only thing I wish is that I wish I had a little bit higher fire rate. That way, missing is more punished, but also hitting your shots is more rewarded, because how it is in this game right now, I mean, unless someone is running at you in a straight line from pretty far away, you're not going to down them before you get that beautiful 99 and 13 and they chunk you. Gears 5 just allows for too much reckless ass gameplay, in my opinion. And as much as I love competitive, I think they need to make sure the game is just, fun before they try and make it hyper competitive, because if you just make an enjoyable game, the community will make it competitive. People will want to be the best at your game because it's fun. they kind of, in my opinion, they mathed the fun out of Gears 5 pretty good. On top of, you know, leaning into all the wacky rap shots and camera and animation abuse that goes on in this game. And if you're gonna let mouse and keyboard compete, or it's gonna just be an input in the game, they've got to actually balance it, because it's kind of just tacked into this game. The game wasn't balanced around it or with it in mind at all. You know, there's been problems in a lot of other games, you know, Rainbow Six, Destiny even. Certain binds with mouse and keyboard shouldn't be allowed. A lot of games restrict scroll wheel binds for a reason, because being able to spam something like that isn't intended. And a lot of the mouse and keyboard players have their cover on the scroll wheel, which is, I mean, that's just as bad as using a macro. Let me stop myself before I go on a 20-minute rant just about mouse and keyboard. You know, they took a lot of weapons out of multiplayer just for lore's sake, which I think is kind of silly. I would like to see everything kind of come back, at least in some way. Even if it's not on every map, I mean, at least it gives variety. You know, competitively, they can put whatever they need on maps. You know, Abushka, Digger, Inks. Instead of every map just being Torque Bow Boom Shot. That's how Gears 5 feels. Every map is just Torque Bow Boom Shot. Sometimes there's a sniper.
And that's what you get.
But we need variety back for sure with power weapons. And secondaries even. You know, I'd love to see the Gorgon come back. I know the Talon, I guess, is kind of its replacement, but you could still have both. I mean, you could have the Talon on some maps and maybe a Gorgon on others, and the Gorgon can go back to being a burst gun like it was in 2, instead of them turning it to an auto pistol in 3. If I was to break down my E-Day wants into a list, starting with, let's say, gameplay speed, I think 5 is kind of in a decent place speed-wise. It's just the weapon balance makes the game feel kind of wacky. And again, you know, like I've said a million times, they lean way too hard into all the camera shots instead of actually aiming your gun. But gameplay speed, you know, similar to 5. Weapon damage, I would like to see it increase maybe a little bit. Game modes, controls, okay, I guess. I mean, I really want to see execution make a big comeback. I mean, I think Gridiron was a good move in the right direction. It's just, why did they have to make it such a cheesy, weird mode with touchdowns and big ass score zone that's painted on the map? Like, keep it gritty and a little bit more grounded instead of going into a fucking sports center. And then I'd like to see you actually be able to play the game in more ways than 1. I mean, Gears 5 leans you into constantly wanting to, you know, push forward, not really hold a position. You just push, and it's just very aggressive gameplay. Trying to hold yourself down is not very good in 5, honestly. Really wouldn't mind seeing right-hand advantage actually come back as something, like constantly being able to, you know, back in and warp your shots around cover. Like, if I'm holding cover and I have right hand, you should be at a disadvantage pushing me. I mean, maybe I'm just old school in that way, but that's how I feel about that. And when it comes to matchmaking, I mean, all the skill-based shit is, I mean, it's not going anywhere, and I hate that. But if we're gonna talk about like ranked modes and social modes, I do think they need to be split. I think you should have a social playlist and a ranked playlist. But I would like to see ranked, instead of it being like you choose ranked control or you choose ranked escalation or ranked execution. It should just be like you queue for competitive, and then so when you search for competitive, it puts you into a match. You know, either have a veto system or something similar to what they have now, where it's 3 maps. But I would say there's, you know, 3 different modes in competitive. Or preferably, I would really like to just see like a King of the Hill and an execution mode. But, you know, have certain maps and modes that are chosen. So like you'll always play checkout execution. Like that is one of the competitive maps and mode combinations. Or you'll play Rustlong King of the Hill. Like there's certain modes for certain maps in the competitive cycle. I would like to see that as the competitive matchmaking instead of just rank control on all these maps. It's got fucking scorchers and, you know, stuff that's not, I don't want to say not meant for competitive, but, you know, not what the competitive scene has decided is a fair and balanced way to play the game. Because there's a lot of thought that goes into, you know, weapon swaps for maps. Because the coalition might decide, you know, this would be fun on this map, this would be fun on this map. But for a healthy competitive match, you know, maybe you don't need a boom shot and a digger and a scorcher and a torque bow all in the same map, you know. Maybe there's a side of the map that has high ground and you want snipe over there. And, you know, or maybe there's just a part of the map that you want focused fights at, you know. So they put a weapon there and maybe like some side weapons on the other side of the map, or, you know. Competitive is just different than a normal ranked match. It's just not the same. And I want to see that kind of change, I guess. Or maybe I'm saying that in a weird way. Really, I just hope we can get some info, you know, this June. Anything would be nice at this point. We got our trailer a year ago. Or at least it feels that long, maybe it hasn't. But thanks for listening to me ramble for a while. There's just a little bit left in this match. Hopefully you enjoyed my smashing A gameplay here, and maybe you'll come back and watch another video, or come see me in my streams of Rumble Viewer. I don't really play like everyone else. I try and play Gears of War instead of Gears 5, and I get punished quite a lot for it. But I would like to see some more people, you know, show up, say hey, have a good time. Thanks for watching.
Teamwork, unity. A real gear lives by these values, and you are real gears.
My regard.